I was transcendent listening to them. I don't know if it was because like I had a couple Jello shots in me, or if they had a couple Jello shots in them, but somehow between the two of us, or they were a three-piece, so the four of us, we had the right amount of Jello shots for me to be like fixated. Definitely a lot of the bands I play with now, which are mostly based out of Philly, they're so supportive. Everybody wants to talk to everybody.
Nice.
It's a really nice crowd. We would play shows with like 6 bands sometimes, and it's in the basement of somebody's house, and we're playing until like 2:30 in the morning. I don't know how the neighbors don't complain about it. It's wonderful. But sometimes like you just run into like the perfect band, the perfect time. So we played a show in Philly. It was somebody's basement. Like I said, 6 bands. I'm talking about one show specifically here. And the last band that went on was some guys that I heard just like in the corner talking to themselves for a little bit and like just kind of mingling with the group, you know, and 2 or 3, you know, conversation points in, they'd ask, wait, what band are you in? And you tell them and they tell you, and you're like, oh, right. Cool. Can't wait to see you guys. The band name was Yeet.
Yeet.
Yeah.
All right.
And
send it.
And I don't know what it was. And I think at least half the band can attest to this. I was transcendent listening to them. I don't know if it was because like I had a couple Jello shots in me, or if they had a couple Jello shots in them, but somehow between the two of us, or they were a three-piece, so the four of us, we had the right amount of Jello shots for me to be like fixated on everything that's happening with them.
Okay.
And their music was just hitting so right, and they had so much energy, and they were the last band on. At that point, I'd say like at least like half to 3/4 of the crowd had left the venue, had gone home. Oof. It is 2:30 in the morning.
Right.
You know, it's on I think it was on like a Thursday or Friday. So like people just want to go home and go to bed. But they were thanking us so much. They were like, thanks for sticking it out, guys. We really appreciate it, you know? And it just kept getting later in their set as their set was like winding down, and people were just like, all right, I need to call it at some point. I'm going home, you know? But as soon as they finished, I had to walk right up to the frontman and like shake his hand and be like, you don't know how good that was.
Nice.
I told him, and this isn't a diss on the other bands, but I was just in such a mood where I was like, the first compliment that came to my mind was, I think you guys are the only real band here tonight. And he goes, you played in Whit Waltman.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, yeah. He's like, you guys are a band. And I'm like, not as good as you. You were so good, dude. Like, your whole band was so good.
That's why they're called Yeet. You know, you just took your band to Whit Waltman and you went, Yeet. Yeah. You guys.
But I was totally like, just like fanning, just like all over everything they were doing. Cause, or no, I think they were a 4-piece because they had 2 guitar players, a bassist, and a drummer. And because I'm typically the lead guitar player slot in Whit Waltman stuff, I always look at the lead guitar player in every band we play with, and I kind of judge them a little bit. I'm like, what do they know that I don't know?
You're right, absolutely.
You know? What do I know that they don't know? What similar ideas can I mess with? Sometimes if I'm really keen on it, I'll take a quote from something they played earlier and play it when our band's playing during one of my solos.
I like that.
I can't throw more shade than that. It gives me a rush to watch them like looking at their phone and look right up at me.
Dude, I love that.
It's just weird thing where there's a whole crowd of people and suddenly I made a weird connection with somebody in the audience, you know?
Oh my God, dude, if I ever share the stage with like a big bill, I'm gonna have to try to do that.
Yeah. It's a weird sense of power. I don't know if I should have it.
Dude, I don't know. That's got to be flattery, though, right? I mean,
I think so. Yeah.
If I was not like I play lead, but like if I was in that position as the guy who already played, and then all of a sudden, you know, what's a lick that I wrote? Now the guy on stage is playing it. Yeah. I'd be like, well, he wouldn't do that if he hated it, or if he hated me, or if he thought I totally sucked. And even if you were like, you know, like, you know, I hate you so much, and you do the, you know, I'd still be like, well, you're playing my shit. So
yeah, exactly. So,
I don't know. I think that's awesome. That is so great.
I think so too. What's really nice though is like when we were based out of Harrisburg, I would look at some of the other bands and I would like, I would not necessarily feel like intimidated because I know music isn't meritocracy. It's not about your skill, but I do kind of look at it like, if like this band, like their guitar player is like has an emergency or something, would I be able to step in? You know,
Yeah.
it's a weird situation, but it's like I want to know that I have enough skills personally to fit a slot if need be.
Mm-hmm.
It's a personal thing. I'm not comparing myself to others, but I'm like, I need to be on it. I need to be getting better. It's this weird fixation with music. And based out of Harrisburg, I was like, yeah, you know, these guys play really great. Like, I think, you know, if I had enough time to practice, I could like nail their stuff, and I think I would fit well. But as soon as we went to Philly, a much denser area, much larger area at the same time, we would play with people, and I'd be like, I really don't feel like they have such a distinct style, and they're so in this pocket that like I would need to practice a long time to get their sound under my hands into my fretboard, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And man, I had so much respect for honestly every band we've played with, but as soon as we moved to Philly, I became so much more like driven to like get better, like because we were playing shows there. At the height of it, we were doing it at least once a week, or I'd say once a weekend, if not more, for 3 or 4 months towards the end of 2021. And it's like, man, sometimes it was like 2 nights in a row where you're like incredibly intimidated by every other guitar player in the room. Like, I need to get better. I need to practice more. I need to do more, you know?
See, that's amazing. and that's a cool chance to break away here just for a moment. So would you say then the overall talent level in the bands that have surrounded you in Philly, do you think the talent is greater there than Harrisburg?
I wouldn't say the talent's better, but I will say that Harrisburg has been trying really hard to have a couple of different scenes happening. And I feel like some bands are not as willing to communicate, and it's leaning itself to like less help overall. I mean, if we all get together and we build something, we have something. But if we all just decide to build our own little towers, they're not going to reach that tall.
Yeah.
And that's from my own personal experience. I didn't play with that many bands in Harrisburg. I've played with a lot more bands in Philly over the course of just a couple months than I ever played in Harrisburg.
I mean, you're booking like crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, I was stalking your Facebook like yesterday, and I was like, oh my God, how have I not seen this? Because like I'm subscribed to like everything that I think you do, at least, you know. And yeah, I'm like, I haven't seen a single one of these events yet. Here's like a whole list of things. I'm like, oh my God, they're everywhere with everyone doing everything. They're right now.
Yeah, and we were jumping from Philly, different places in there, and we'd have like an off show, like, oh, we're in Mechanicsburg, oh, we're in Pittsburgh. We're just playing shows.
Ooh, that's rough. Pittsburgh too. From Philly.
Yeah, but I'm kind of on the way, so they can pick me up, and I don't have to worry about driving as much. So
that's a
nice.
hike.
That is.
That's a hike from here. Never mind Philly.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that? 5 hours? 6 hours?
Yeah, it's not fun.
Oh my God, I can get back to Massachusetts in that time. Like, no lie, dude.
Yeah.
I think the fastest I ever got there was like sub 6 hours, barely.
Yeah, it's not fun. A lot of times, me driving 3 hours to get to Philly and then 3 hours home after the show is not fun.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 hours in total.
Oh.
But just to drive 6 hours to get to the venue and be like, look, it is 1 a.m.
Yeah, right.
Like, we got to get a hotel. We can't drive home. It's just not possible.
Yeah, no kidding. And what a good point there for musicians, you know. Oh, there's a ton of money in this. Yeah, well, you probably just all the gig money that you got, if you got paid for that show, you just bought it, you know, bought a room for 10 hours.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, and then you got to eat, never mind, and then you got the gas. I mean, man, you're in it. You're in the thick of it. The grind. And I love that. I mean,
it is though. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I've told Patrick before that
the drummer, right?
Yeah, the drummer. That I would rather go through the thick of it and have a terrible time but tour for like 10 straight days than I would rather do like one day every weekend, because that collectivizes my suffering. And just mentally that's so much easier to deal with. I'm gonna have one big block of suffering versus a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, one off week, a little bit here, a little bit here.
That's fair. Yeah, that's hilarious, that mentality. I share that. So I always think that, like, I used to run a lot, you know, and if I was running like a mile, You know, it's like, do I want to sprint? Like, you know, say I didn't want to run that day. It's like, well, I could sprint this in like 6-7 minutes, or I could drag my feet for 12. And it's like, you know, what would I rather do? It's like, well, I don't want to do this at all, so I'm going to do it really quick.
Yeah.
You know, I think about that with any job, any hard work, it's like, well, do I want to work really hard for less time, or do I want to work like a little bit for a lot of time? So I think that's comparable to what you're saying. Just get it all done, boom, right now. Then have to like, okay, mentally prepare for the next 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Every weekend. That's rough.
Yeah, it's not super fun. For a little while there, we were having practices before every show too, just to make sure we were ready. So that was like, you got a 2-day weekend because you have an overtime day. I'm sorry, that's the whole thing. You know, you're working straight through.